Hey guys, so for this next part of the lecture, I'm going to be discussing some lighting properties, some of the basic lighting properties that exist for almost all of the six lights that we talked about before. So the first thing that you're gonna, so this is the scene that we have set up. It's the same one that we had in the last one, just some spheres on a plane. The first light quality that you're going to want to adjust, and again, this is just a spotlight in the upper screen right. There's a little bit of a soft edge to it. Pretty basic, pretty basic stuff. So the first two parameters that you're going to see that you're going to be, that are pretty straightforward, but they're good to talk about together because they work together, are color and intensity. So for color, it's pretty much something that we should point out is that almost never will you use a purely white light to light a scene. Every light that we run into contact with has at least a little bit of color to it. That's a common mistake you see with first-time lighters is that they don't think about light color. They only think about the intensity. Now, the intensity of the light, so you can change the color just by going in here. If it's like if it's a warm sunny day, we're gonna kind of want maybe a more just a slight orange hue to the key light, and then when we render it, there'll be little bit of warmth to it, and then you combine that with some nice blue skylight and that kind of thing if that's what we're going for. So it's not always going to be this bright red or bright blue or green or something. It's lots of times it's just very subtle color, but you should always have a little bit. Now I was saying that these two things should be talked about in tandem because intensity is simply a multiplier of the color value. So if we change this to 2, again it's going to behave pretty much exactly how you'd expect it to. It just multiplies the color input that we gave it, and and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's going to make it twice as bright as 1. Like it's gonna multiply that value. So if this is 100%, this is 200%, and that's pretty straightforward. The next set, so we'll take this back to 1 just for comparison. So the next set of values that you'll see are these checkboxes. The first one is the illuminates by default. This one might seem silly to have this a checkbox for this, but it actually comes in handy quite often. There'll be later on we'll set up render layers where we'll want some lights on and not other lights. So it's a quick way of turning the light off without adjusting any of the other settings. This even though it still shows up in our display here, you can see when we render it, it won't emit anything, and it'll just be off, and it'll just be a black scene. So that will come into play more, but it's good to know that that's there. You can also use it in your workflow because lots of times once you have multiple lights in your scene, you'll want to turn off the illuminates by default on most of them if you're just trying to adjust one light or another. Now, in addition to being able to turn off the light entirely, you can also turn off one of the two qualities of light it emits. Like I was talking about how an ambient light before doesn't emit specular value. You can also turn off emit specular from your spotlight as well if it's giving you something undesirable or if it's basically misbehaving in any way. So you can see now that we've got that emit specular turned off, all we get is just the diffuse values and none of the specular highlights. Light, in turn, we can also turn off emit diffuse and only emit specular values if we want to just pick up some, if we want to position a light in such a way to only pick up the specular dings. We can do that as well. So again, these two values added together equal the light default, the light being on completely. So this plus this equals that. So, and again, when it comes to render passes later on, we'll be breaking, you'll probably be breaking specular layers out individually so you can control those in the comp and that kind of thing. But it's just good to know for now. Let's go and turn these both back on. We talked about the cone angle, penumbra angle, and drop off for the spotlight. One of the other things that we should talk about is the decay rate. I mentioned before about the volume light and how there's this ring that emits from it, and the light will fall off only to that point, only illuminate to that point. But we can create decay on all other lights as well, on the other lights as well. We can, and they give you 3 options, linear, quadratic, and cubic. These are just different calculations for calculating the decay. The thing that you need to know is that the further down the list you go, the faster the light decays off. So I can show you, let's do linear for now. And the thing, once you add decay, you will have to kind of jack up your light intensity. So if we rendered it right now, I'm not sure anything would pick up here because I think the light might be too far away. And basically, what's happening is the light's decaying before it even gets to the scene. So if we turn this up to, let's say 100, and then run this again, then we'll start to see it. And actually, that's it's a bit extreme, but you can see that the light is hitting this area a little bit more profoundly than the other areas. In fact, let's go ahead and scoot this spotlight in closer so we can start to see these. So we can see this value. So again, we have the spotlight selected. We look through selected because we want to look through the spotlight again. Let's just zoom it in a little bit. So take down this intensity to, say, 5 for now. Go back to our perspective camera, and then we can see, we can start to see the drop off here. So again, it just creates the light falling off this way. And again, you can, each drop off or each decay value will change the type of decay. It'll just decay faster the more that you increase this. So something else that I wanted to show you guys as well was there's something else that you can do with the color and intensity values. Let's look through this light again and back it up just a little bit. And basically, this is an old school lighting technique that it's called using a gobo, and gobo is short for something being a go-between between the light and the scene itself. Basically, it was a card or something cut out to simulate either a window or a person or something standing off camera and casting a shadow onto the scene without the actual object being there. So the way that we're going to do that is basically because we can map a gobo light onto the color here. So if we go to, if we assign a, let's see, I've got this image loaded up of a window. Basically, yeah, this image of a window that we're going to use and project that through the light to make it seem like, so anywhere where it's black will be blocked out, and anywhere where it's white will be will shine through. So we'll go ahead and attach this to the this window silhouette to the color value of the light, and then we'll go back out, and our decay is off. Once you do this, though, your preview will no longer really work, so we'll go ahead and take that off for the time being. And you can now see that that light is now being projected, or that image is now being projected through the light and onto the object. And again, the wider the angle, the light, the more that'll be stretched out, and you can control that in much the same way as, and all the other attributes still apply. If you want to change the color of that, you can go in if you want to make it slightly a slight color to it. You can change the color balance of the, you can color gain the map itself. Being, let's say we want it to be a little bit warmer there, and then go back in here. We can say this out, run it, and that will change the color of the the perceived color of the light passing through there as well. So that's a gobo light. That's something that's often used, that you can use the properties of the light to control. But other than that, I think that's a pretty good start into the basic attributes, and we'll go from there.